Welcome. Today, we will be taking a look at how some of the library databases can help you with narrowing your research topic. Let's begin by thinking about some of the standard strategies for narrowing your topic. You might begin with one big idea and consider finding other ideas that intersect with that. You might find a big idea and view it through a specific lens or from a specific perspective. You may also want to set limits as you're developing your research question and your thesis for a specific population, specific dates, or specific locations. For each of these strategies, we will see what that might look like within the tools within these databases. Let's begin. In this database, which is from a company called Gale, we will take a look at one of their terrific tools called Subject Guide Search. And just again, this is one database, Academic OneFile, from this one company. The tool Subject Guide Search appears in all but 2 of their databases. So let's click on Go to Subject Guide Search, where we will be taken to the Subject Guide Search screen, and we can enter our search term, the big search term, the big idea, which in this case is yoga. And I will click the search button. Even on this first page, you can see that there are many, many, many references to yoga. And you are obviously free to explore any of those that look useful or interesting, potentially relevant to your specific project. Let's start at the top with the main subject heading of yoga. And underneath that, you'll see it says subdivisions. When I click on subdivisions, I have a long list in front of me. I'll just scroll down so you can see how very long it is. A long list of subdivisions. Think about what subdivisions are. You take something big, you divide it into smaller pieces, and that's what these are. So there are some standard subdivisions here that you will find, if not on all subjects, on many. And they're strategies that you can use in your search and in your designing your thesis and your research question. For example, you might want to look at the economic aspects of whatever your topic is. You might want to look at the educational or environmental aspects, the ethical aspects. We can continue looking for these genetic aspects. There'll be international aspects and psychological aspects. So what that is saying is that there is a specific perspective or point of view or an additional area of interest that might intersect with the topic you are researching, and you can explore where those 2 points of view, those 2 ideas intersect. So that's one major tool that might help you in narrowing down and or focusing your thoughts, your thinking about your topic. Another idea here is to narrow down with dates or places, as I spoke about before, and not sure. For instance, in this case, they talk about yoga in Hawaii and New York and Thailand, and I'm sure that there are other places as well. But these are the top ones that rise for us to look at in this particular search. Additionally, you might find that there are articles in this list of subdivision articles that are categorized by the type of information, the structure or the nature of the information that will be in those articles. For instance, there are articles that talk about beliefs and opinions and attitudes related to our topic of yoga. There are case studies that talk about the case studies related to yoga or cases. There are analyses that you can find by clicking on this subdivision. There will be laws and regulations and rules or licensing and certification and accreditation. So those, again, are ways that you can narrow your search. They are ways that you can focus your research question and your thesis. And importantly, they are ways that you can find evidence to support your thesis, ultimately when you're doing the writing of your paper. So those are some really important ways that you can find ideas within the Gale databases using the subject guide search tool. And over and above just finding the ideas, I do want to point out that for each subdivision, if I find a subdivision that appeals to me, I can then click on that subdivision and find articles that relate to it. So if I click here on beliefs and opinions and attitudes, I have 9 possible sources that I can consider and evaluate and decide whether they're useful to me or not, whether I want to include that information in my paper or not. So this is a very useful tool. Let's take a look at one of the other databases. And this one is called Academic Search Complete. It is from another vendor, another company called EBSCO. And you'll notice right off the bat that this has a totally different look and feel to the search screen. But all the same kinds of tools are here. They work a little differently, they look a little different, but you certainly can get some assistance here. So in this database, or any of the databases from this company, you'll find the blue toolbar up at the top of the screen. And if we click where it says subject terms, we're taken to another screen where you'll actually see 2 search boxes. Right now, we're going to leave this top search box alone. I'll show you what that does in a minute. We're going to come down to this browsing search box, and we can type our subject in, yoga, and click the browse button. And although it has a different look and feel to it, here again, you see lots of references to yoga, lots of different references. So you see that this already has options that you can consider for narrowing down your search. Notice how this is phrased. Again, for instance, yoga in art. So we're taking 2 theoretically unrelated ideas, yoga and art, and we're looking for the place where they intersect. Or yoga in literature, or yoga instruction. Again, these are all separate ideas, and you're looking for the place where they intersect. And that might be something you find useful and worth investigating, depending on your particular topic. Let's scroll to the top of this area where we see the word yoga by itself, but again, you can notice that it's an active link. And when I click on it, it brings me to yet another screen where, in a slightly different way, they offer you additional assistance, additional options for thinking about, understanding, and researching this particular topic. For instance, they show the broader terms, yoga is related to, it's one kind of exercise. It has something, it's connected to Hinduism, but it's not everything about Hinduism. It's just one facet of Hinduism. So those are broader terms. And then they also show you narrower terms. They show you terminology like specific types of yoga, because there are different types of yoga. They also mention other kinds of yoga populations, for instance, like yoga for children or yoga for people with disabilities. So again, those are some of those initial strategies that I mentioned in the beginning of the video and that you might want to consider. Now, these are not the only options available in the library resources, but they are big ones here in this particular database. And again, there are related terms that you can consider and explore. It is also possible to go directly from here to some articles. Let me show you how that's done. So let's suppose that we want to explore yoga for people with disabilities. Maybe we also want to talk about yoga postures and yoga instruction or techniques. So I'm placing a check mark next to just those aspects of yoga that I think I'd like to explore further. And I'm going to scroll up to the top of the screen. I'm going to click the add button here on the screen, but before I do that, I want you to be watching what happens in the search box up at the top of the screen. Remember, we left that alone initially. Now it comes into play. So I'm going to click add, and all of the subdivisions or all of the related terms, the broader, narrower terms that I selected by checking in the boxes, all appear in this top search box. And if I click the search button, I'll be taken to articles that match those criteria. And then again, of course, you can explore and consider all of those articles and decide whether they're relevant, they're useful to you, there's something you want to pursue and possibly use for your research. And that brings us to the end of this video. I hope you have found some useful suggestions here. If you'd like to know more, you can email me or you can reach out to any of the librarians at the Harold L. Drimmer Library. We have a virtual online chat you can use at many different, 7 days a week, many different hours during the day, evenings, mornings, middle of the day. You can telephone us, you can send us a text message, and we're always happy to provide you with support and assistance. Thank you for being here today.